Lord, talk about filling every minute of a runtime. Hey everyone, it's Sharana from Pay or Wait, and today I'm going to be reviewing It Chapter 2, which is directed by Andy Muschietti, who's responsible for directing 2017's It, and this film is written by Gary Dauberman, who's responsible for helping write It, also too, Annabelle Comes Home, Annabelle Creation, and The Nun. And so also too, Stephen King has a writing credit, right? Because it's based off of his novel. This is the film adaptation of Stephen King's novel, It. And so for those of you who are new to my channel, I tell you what I liked about the film, what I didn't like about the film, and should you pay your way to see this film in theaters. But before I get into that, I guess I have to give an apology to my audience because you guys have been on my neck so hard that I feel like I have a crick in my neck because everyone keeps asking me, where's my It Chapter 2 review? So it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I was out of the country in Canada, so like my sleep is off. So I was like, what better way than to be productive and like put this review out for everyone. So I just want to say I'm sorry, you guys, but it's here. Like, please forgive me. Like, I have a life too, but yeah. So It Chapter 2 picks up 27 years after where we left off in It, where the Losers Clubs, they're now grown up. They're the adult Losers Club. And so reluctantly, they have to come back to the town of Derry after they receive a phone call letting them know that Pennywise is back. He is out of his little 27-year hibernation, and he is back to killing some kids and adults. And so they have to fulfill the promise that they made as young children, where they said if he ever came back, they will come back together and defeat Pennywise once and for all. And that's basically what this movie is generally about. So let's get into what I liked about this film. How can we talk about it if we don't talk about Pennywise? Bill Skarsgård does such a fantastic job at portraying Pennywise. He is just so terrifying to look at. I love how we get to see even more different glimpses of Pennywise as different shape-shifting creatures. I'm not going to spoil anything for anyone, but also too in his human form, what you've seen in some of the trailers from It Chapter 2. And so I think that it's so amazing, like what he does as Pennywise, from his mannerisms that he has, the voice that he has, the gross little drool that he has. And I think that's, from a visual standpoint, even though he's like so gross, that is when I really enjoy this film. When Pennywise is on screen, just visually the setups that they have with him, the use that they have with the red balloons, I was just like, this is so pretty to look at. But I know like something like crazy terrifying is about to happen after this. But that is when I loved looking at it. There's a scene that you kind of see, I think it is in one of the trailers, where he kind of comes in contact with one of these young children with the firefly, and then how they kind of have this darkness around him and how his face is lit up. I was just like, oh my gosh, he is so gross to look at, but this is still a pretty scene at the same time. And so I really did enjoy the visuals that they had in It Chapter 2. But what made me enjoy the film, like, I wouldn't have enjoyed this film as much as I did if it was not for Bill Hader and James Ransone, who played Richie and Eddie. They were like the standouts in the entire film. And this is like a star-studded cast. I mean, you have James McAvoy, Jessica Chastain, Isaiah Mustafa. Like, you have a lot of people in this film. And I wasn't expecting to love Bill Hader and James like so much. I enjoyed their characters. I thought that they did a very great job just casting wise, casting the young children to the adult versions of themselves. I thought it was absolutely spot on. And to watch the performances like with their characters, Eddie and Richie, it was just great. The comedy that works in the film is because of these two actors. Their banter back and forth between each other, that is like when I really enjoyed the film. And I also love kind of what they do with their characters towards the end of the film. I don't want to give anything away, but for those of you who have seen it, I think at this point you know what I'm eventually alluding to. I thought it was very clever how that was done. And I think that it will go over very well with fans after watching this film. So that's pretty much everything that I really enjoyed about the film. We got to talk about what I didn't like about the film. There are a lot of things that I didn't like about it, but first and foremost, guys, we got to talk about this 2-hour, 49-minute runtime. The first It movie was over 2 hours, and I really don't have issues with films being long at all, as long as I do not feel every single minute of this movie. And unfortunately, this movie drags on for a very long time. And so that ties into one of my issues as far as the story, the behind like It Chapter 2. We understand the whole plot of why they have to come back to Derry, but we really don't get that much of a character development for who the adult losers are. As anyone who has grown up from a child, the teenager, to now being an adult, you change as a person. And even though some of these characters still had their same traits, which is why I enjoy Eddie and Richie so much, I felt as though that they don't do a good job of kind of fleshing out who they are today to kind of show how they react to who Pennywise is as adults. And there's kind of an hour of the film where I understand the purpose. The characters have to go find something that kind of helps them in their journey of getting rid of Pennywise. But that whole hour of that whole little story arc was so drawn out. I didn't necessarily feel that every single character needed to have like their own little scene that tied into this. I think that while watching the film, you could really tell that there were a lot of details and story that was kind of left on the cutting room floor that probably would have been a little bit more engaging to watch than what was presented in the final, this final version of It Chapter 2. And so I think from a writing standpoint, it's not enough to keep you engaged the whole time, to the point where me and everyone else in the theater, they were literally like, bruh, we still got 2 hours left. Like, still an hour left. Like, what are you guys doing? And they really took it away from my overall viewing experience of the film. Now, also, too, this is supposed to be a horror movie, but because we're focusing on the adult versions of these characters, I didn't find the movie as terrifying. I think when it is terrifying, and when it goes back to focusing on Pennywise and him eating children, like, that is when the movie is scary to me. And really, I found the movie to be a little bit more disgusting. There are things that happen. I think with Eddie's character, I was just like, that is so nasty and just like, ugh. But it was more like I was disgusted, like that's just so gross, more than I was actually scared. And I think that the film tried to rely a lot on jump scares, and it just didn't work. But I think that's more so when you're dealing with kids in the first It film, you feel that fear that you had as a child. Like, it takes you back. You understand that anything would scare me as a child. And so I think that I found the first film a little bit more terrifying to watch because I watched it through the lens of who I was as a child. And so I think that that's why it doesn't really work for It Chapter 2, mainly because they're adults. So how they react to certain things, I was just like, I don't know if that would necessarily be my reaction to this little alien shape-shifting clown, but it just didn't pay off for me. And I think overall, we all knew that It Chapter 2 was not going to be as engaging, as terrifying as the first one. For anyone who's either read the book or who's watched the miniseries that came out previous to this, like, that It Chapter 2, like the adult version of this is not where it's at. It's all about how they felt when they were kids. And talking about the kids, it was nice to see the kids in It Chapter 2. I thought it was a little weird that for some of the flashback scenes, they kind of show us stuff that we never saw in the first It, to the point where it's just like, why are we bringing this up now if it wasn't important enough for you to bring up in the first film? But I still like seeing them. I think that's when I enjoyed the movie a bit more, was watching them in the flashbacks. I didn't have issues with the CGI. I know a lot of people had issues. They had to de-age the kids because they're like teenagers now. They can drive, their voices change, they're taller. But that didn't necessarily bother me. I just think overall for It Chapter 2, my expectations were so high, mainly due to the casting of this film, the trailers, and I do think that they gave a little bit too much away in the trailers. Two of the biggest scenes in the film are in the trailer, and I felt as though that they could have played it close to the vest, and really that probably would have enhanced my viewing experience even more. But I just think that this is a bit of a letdown. And I feel after going through this review, I was going to say that it's still okay, because I think that if you watch the first film, you would still enjoy aspects of It Chapter 2. I do think that 2017's It is the superior film overall. But I think after listing out what I liked versus what I didn't like about the film, I think that the cons still outweigh the good. And so what I would have to say, and it pains me to say this, what I would do for me and my coins, I would tell you to wait to see this film in theaters. I just thought that the runtime was too long. the story just really isn't there out of the main general plot of getting everyone back to Derry. It just didn't do it for me. And it really hurts. Like, it hurts to say this, that I really didn't enjoy this film as much as the first one. I do think that opinions will be split on this. I will still encourage you to go see this film for yourself. Most of you have probably already seen it. I think that some people will still enjoy It Chapter 2, and others may feel as the same way as I did. They're just like, nah, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. It was okay. And I think because of that, I would probably not watch this movie again. I'm sorry, guys. I just have to tell the truth on how I feel. But yeah, those are my thoughts on It Chapter 2. As always, my name is Sharona from Pay Or Wait. And if you like what you saw today, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and make sure you hit that notification bell. And I love you guys 3000. I'll see you soon.